Hi friends, I'm Matt Scanlon from Scarsdale Friends Meeting. I'm also co-clerk of the Purchase Quarter Prisons Committee, and I've been attending the worship group at Sing Sing Prison on most Sundays for the past 25 years. We're making this recording to invite you to come and join us for worship some Sunday at either Sing Sing or at Otisville Prison. If you come and join us, what you will find is community and fellowship. At the end of our time of worship together and our time of fellowship together, the men say the words community and fellowship because that best captures the experience that they've had of this spiritual community deep in the darkest places of their lives. Just yesterday, I was at a quarterly meeting at Sing Sing, where we spent 6 hours reflecting on the testimonies of simplicity and integrity. We listened to the men describe how the Quaker teachings had replaced in their lives the street code and the prison code that they had lived on for the past 20 or 25 years, and how they have seen a different type of path by studying the testimonies and the other Quaker teachings. Those of us who were there from the outside were able to deepen our understanding of the testimonies in our own lives by listening to people who come from such a different background as we do. At the end of our time together, one of the men from the worship group described Quakerism and what it means to them as preparing a cup of instant coffee. His analogy was that in preparing a cup of instant coffee, you first put in the dark brown coffee grounds, reminiscent to him of the men of color who were in prison. On top of that, you add the creamer and the sugar, which reminded him of the Caucasian friends in most of our monthly meetings. He said once you add the water, you really don't have a powerful cup of coffee until you stir, until the grounds that are dark on the bottom come to the top, and the creamer and the sugar, which is light, goes to the bottom. So they've asked me to ask all of you to come help make that Quaker cup of coffee by joining us all together. I hope you'll be able to join us some Sunday.
Hello, my name is Len McCrae, also better known as Jamil, and I'm part of the Quaker worship group on the inside of the penitentiary system. I fell into the penitentiary system back in 1981. I was released from prison in 2009 after serving 27 consecutive years. I came out with a life parole. I never thought I was going to end up. Two things happened to me simultaneously. One, I didn't think I would ever get out of prison because of the nature of the crime and all that stuff was going on. Two, I never thought I would see a black man as president of the United States. And on January 20th, 2009, I was walking out of Otisville Correctional Facility, a free man, been released from prison. And as I was walking toward my brother's car, he had it blasting, but President Obama was being inaugurated as the first black president. And I fell to my knees and I cried. When I came into the prison system, I was Muslim, still Islamically inclined, and I wasn't feeling quite right with myself, so I ended up, luckily and fortunately, getting together with the Quaker group. And one of the reasons I appreciated the Quaker group because they didn't specify that you had to be any type of religion. You could just come, quiet worship, get your thoughts together, do whatever you needed to do, and go. And that gave me a spot where I could go and relax, get my head together, get away from all the nonsense that was going on back behind the walls. Since I've been home, I've got a job with the federal government as a vocational rehabilitation specialist / employment specialist. My job is to go out and help other veterans obtain employment. And curiously enough, our president made a statement initiative that he was going to end homelessness for veterans within 45 years. And I was one of the first ones that got hired in that initiative. And I'm proud of what I'm doing. I also work at a neighborhood homeless shelter in New York. And like I said, Quaker Group gave me everything I needed. They helped me, encourage me with education. I got a couple degrees while I was inside. I learned the American Sign Language while I was inside. graduated from Canisius College, and I'm just here and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
My name is Ruth Matthews, and I'm a member of Chappaqua Friends meeting. When I first learned about the opportunity to go and volunteer in the prisons as be part of a Quaker worship group there, I was initially apprehensive. I was a little nervous because, after all, these people were in prison for a reason. But there's a part of me that was really curious too. And I'm the kind of person that likes to explore things that are a little bit edgy, I guess. And so I went up to Otisville, and what was good about it was that I didn't have to go by myself. I went with somebody else who was an experienced volunteer, someone who had been there before. And that was extremely helpful to kind of, take me through. I didn't feel like I was just being abandoned to this system that I knew absolutely nothing about. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out that the men that came to this worship group were very thoughtful and self-reflective people. And over the years, I've been going there, I think, for about 5 or 6 years now. I've grown to know them a little bit better, and because we always have some opportunity to talk about ourselves and about what has happened for us in the last week. And so through that kind of sharing, I feel like I've gotten to know some of them. Gone through some good times with them, some bad times with them, and really find that it's been a very important experience in my life for a couple of reasons. I've thought to myself, and occasionally I've said it out loud, that it's almost ironic, but sometimes at Otisville is where I most palpably feel or have an experience of the divine. The other thing that I've come away with, and they often say thank you for coming, and the volunteers that go say, we get as much out of it as you do. It's a two-way street. We're getting something from it too. And one of the things that I have experienced is that I always come away from there feeling that it was worth my while to have gone. And it is a drive. It's a bit of a drive. I never felt like I wasted my time. I always felt like I got something out of it. And I always come back feeling grateful for simple things. Simple things like I can choose the food that I eat. I can choose where, when I want to do things. And somehow being with them highlights that for me. And that's a particular benefit that I found that came from doing this kind of volunteer work. And I would certainly heartily encourage anybody with an interest to really consider strongly about doing it, because it will take you into a world that you know nothing about, and I think anyone can benefit greatly from it.
My name is Carl Dukes, and I want to talk about how I got involved with the Quakers. I was in Attica in 1982 when a friend of mine asked me to go to a Quaker meeting, and at that time it was the anniversary that they were having, you have that feast, every year. So I go down. I really didn't want to go because they was having the feast, and a lot of times people think you just show up just for the food, right? And so I got down there, and I started talking with a few of the volunteers, and they were very engaging in terms of the conversation that we were having, and they were concerned about what I was doing inside, and it just went along real good. And so after a while, right, I told them, I said, I have a confession to make. I says, I really didn't want to come down here, right, because you were having the feast, and I didn't want you to think that that was the only reason why I showed up. But since I'm here, I'll have another piece of that chicken, you know. And so we go on, and this started in 1982, and I'm still going to Quaker service, although I'm outside. I've been out since 2008. One of the things that helped propel me through that journey was those outside volunteers. You know, they gave me hope. They gave me a base to operate from. They gave me a sense of worth, a sense that someone cared about me, you know. And along with that Quaker service, a few Quakers would come in periodically, and I would have visits, you know. I have no family in New York, and it was very, very helpful to be with them. And so I continue to do that today. And the thing, you know, even when I was being released, they wanted to pick me up. I said, no, I can make it. Not knowing that I really couldn't. I really needed some help. I had a brace on my neck. I just had cervical surgery, and they kicked me out of the institution. If it weren't for the doctor, they would have kicked me right out after the operation. But the doctor said, no, you're not ready to go. And so I stayed a few days later, a few weeks, and everything turned out all right. I really, really enjoyed being with the Quakers. They gave me that fulfillment that one need under those type of circumstances.
I am Norma Ellis. I attend Scarsdale meeting. Actually, I'm a member of Scarsdale meeting. And I have been going into Sing Sing to meet with men in the worship group for approximately 5 years. I was drawn to that by hearing the stories of people who basically began the prison worship group at Sing Sing, and found that it seemed like a reasonable and appropriate thing to be doing. At this point, I find that I think maybe I get more out of it than the men in the group do, although it's hard to tell who gets more from what and all that. I am very impressed with the quality of worship, the sharing, and I have friends who are on the inside. And they will be my friends for a long time.
My name is Raul Baez, and I came to Quakers on an invitation when I first got to Otisville in 2005. I never heard of Quakers, and I was just at a point in my life where I wanted some spiritual growth, and based on the conversation, I felt it might be a place I'd be interested in. So when I went there, I was really impressed with the peacefulness, the serenity, which you don't really get in a dorm setting in prison. It's just chaos. And so I continued to go, and I was introduced to the concept of giving. I've never experienced that in my life. I was an addict for almost 25 years, and addicts just take, manipulate, cheat, steal, all that. So that was one of the primary reasons why I really embraced the Quakers. As time went on, I developed some relationships with the civilians there, which ultimately led me creating a financial literacy program at Otisville Correctional Facility. Without the Quakers' contribution of service and time and their personal experiences, I would not be standing here, because not only was I exposed to the gift of giving, but a lot of business strategies that I wasn't aware of, and I was able to, it propelled me to seek education, develop this program on complete faith. I had no idea what I was doing, why I was doing it, but something was tugging at me, and I listened to that voice. That is awesome preparation for me before I came home, because I was so disciplined and focused with my transformation that when I came home, I was really prepared to execute in reality what I was practicing in prison in my mind. And so I have to give all the acknowledgement to Quakers, because I've had about my 6 years, almost 6 years at Otisville, I had about 6 to 8 Quaker members contribute to this program. The program helped me get released thoroughly. I came home, and it's the genesis of 2 business models that I started. I started a sole proprietorship, and I started an S Corp. I just finalized in September a nonprofit, and it all comes right back to that seed. And the nonprofit consists of me going back to the prison system and share some of the character development principles and the financial literacy that I learned to transform my life with the men and women incarcerated. So I'm an example that your time and your investment has grown exponentially.
My name is Susan Weisfeld, and I have been a volunteer at Sing Sing for about 17 years. I'm a member of Scarsdale Friends Meeting, and another Sing Sing volunteer, his name was Hank Elkins, told me that I would be a good fit for being a volunteer at Sing Sing, and I had no idea what that meant, but I trusted him, and he stayed with me and took me by the hand. And in those days we could try it once to see if it worked, and I realized that the people who came to us in the prison at the Quaker meeting were the same people I grew up with. I went to high school in Washington Heights, to George Washington High School, and these guys reminded me of my friends. Some of them made bad choices, some of them died as teenagers, and I went a different path. I ended up going to college and having a middle-class marriage, and became a Quaker, and ended up in Sing Sing as a volunteer, talking to people that reminded me of my friends in high school. And I do want to say that I am not a morning person, and I get up sometimes at 6:20 and get in my car at 7:30 and say, why am I doing this? This is torture, getting up at this time. And then I get to the prison, go through the security and the glares of some of the guards, but some are very, very friendly. And the men greet you with such warmth and delight, and I realize that's why I'm there. We are not changing people's lives, but we are making their lives bearable. They can't take back what they've done. What they've done is horrendous. Every single one of them has done something absolutely horrendous. I think half of them will never get out. They're in there for life. But they have changed in prison, and by changing, they affect other prisoners' lives. They affect family members. They affect nephews and grandchildren. And we are there to support them, to just be there for them, just to be. And when we worship with them, it's wonderful. It's not as long as a regular Quaker meeting, but we share experiences. They're interested in our week. We're interested in their week. They watch the news. They're interested in everything. These are the guys that come to us. The other prisoners at Sing Sing, I don't really know them. I never feel threatened. I never feel uncomfortable. I only feel the joy that they have, that we are there. It's a sharing, it's a community. And when I leave, I am very grateful on many levels. First of all, I'm grateful that I can leave. And I'm grateful for the choices that I did make, the choice not to join a gang, the choice to stay in school. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have made a difference in these people's lives. And I think anyone who has any leading to help another person enrich their lives, this is something they should try, because for me it's something I'll never stop doing. And when people say to me, why do you go there? These people are criminals. To me, they're people. And they're people who have tried to change and have tried to make a difference somehow with what's left of their lives. And I'm very grateful that I can be part of that.
Hi friends, my name is Bill Bortree. I'm a member of Scarsdale Meeting. I'm co-clerk of the Purchase Quarter Prison Ministry Committee, and I've been going into the prisons for 24 years. You've seen our presentation now, so you have some sense of what we're about and what we're trying to do in the prisons. The purpose of this particular presentation is primarily to answer two questions that many friends have regarding prison ministry. The first question is, what's in it for you? What keeps you volunteers going? The second question is, can you really impact the lives of these men who come to your worship groups when you only see them once a week for a couple of hours? You've seen the presentation in the testimonies. You've seen 3 testimonies by volunteers and 3 by former worship group members. I hope that has answered those questions if they were in your mind. Matt mentioned earlier, we really need some volunteers to keep this, this wonderful leading going. So we're not asking for a long-term commitment. The first step is merely get the prison to approve you for a one-time visit, kind of a trial run. We can help you with the process, and the first time you go in, we'll be sure you have an experienced volunteer to go with you. And if you find after that first visit that it's a good fit for you, the next step is just to get approved as a regular volunteer, and we can help you with that. And there's no real time commitment. If you know, people, some of us like Matt try to go in every week, others of us go in once or twice a month. So whatever you can handle, that's fine. So if you can think of it in one of 2 ways, either as an adventure, or you can think of it as a way to put your Quaker faith into practice. Now, if you're interested, if you'd like to learn more about it, if you have questions, you can contact me, Bill Bortree, or Matt Scanlon. And our contact information will be on the Leave Behind brochures. So again, friends, thank you for your time and interest.